Welcome. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us once again on day 3 of the Distance Learning Leadership Summit. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about how we can create community confidence with very creative communication techniques. And the idea behind this today will be to utilize tools that can be easy at the beginning, but also be adding in some more complicated workflows to become very dynamic in what you and your district wants to do. And also we have to define who our community is. Okay, that's a very loaded word, right? The community can mean our fellow teachers. It can mean our fellow administrators. It can mean our fellow district leadership. Community can be our parents. Community can be our surrounding neighborhoods, our surrounding businesses. So community is all of that. So I want to showcase for you how district leadership can have open conversations with the entire community in a very easy to run format, to show how teachers can have conversations in a very dynamic way with parents just by clicking a few buttons. And then also I want to create, show something how, right now we are in a situation where we're asking teachers to utilize tools that they may never have utilized before. We're asking teachers to utilize pedagogical approaches that they maybe never have thought of before. And so we want to make it easy for them, but we also want to make it easy for them to ask for help. We don't want them to have to ask for help the same way they ask to get a computer fixed. We don't want them to put in a ticket and then wait for somebody to get back to them. We want a more informal approach where they can just ask a question and immediately get a response. So I'm going to showcase that for you as well. And every single thing, and I always predicate my sessions with this caveat. Everything I'm going to show for you today is archived and resourced for you. So if at the end or during the beginning or whenever you'd like, if you go to cdwgits.it/cdw feedback, you're going to receive this exact presentation with the exact slides, and every single slide has a how to do video on how to implement what I'm going to showcase for you. And I say this because I'm going to try to give you a 4-hour workshop in under 50 minutes. And it can be fast and furious. And sometimes anxiety starts setting into the participants, like he's going so fast. A couple things about that. If you would like me to slow down, this is your session. I get the privilege to be communicating and collaborating with you. That is my privilege. So if you would like me to slow down or repeat something, this is your session. So I absolutely implore you to ask that if that is the case. But just to alleviate any anxiety, you're going to get every single thing that I'm going to show you today in a fashion that you can rewind and repeat and showcase to your fellow administrators and teachers. So I just want to say that right off the bat. A little bit about myself. My name is Joe Marquez. I'm an education strategist with CDWG, but my background is in education. I am not part of the CDW sales team at all. My job is to work with districts that are considering doing business with CDWG or already doing business with CDWG to consult and work with their leadership teams, maybe their ed tech teams, maybe their teacher on special assignments to create PD and create opportunities to kind of train the trainer and push that out to your district. And if you are working with CDWG, that is a value added resource that is provided to you at no extra charge. So that is my role, and that's why I decided to take this position, because schools do not need to pay any extra money to be able to consult with myself. So that's why I love doing this. And a couple of my certifications, I do have a master's degree in instructional technology. I do have a Google Innovator certification, a Microsoft Innovator certification. So I live and breathe this stuff. But that does not mean I know everything. So this session is going to really be a roundtable. After I showcase you something, I want you to speak out and say, this is how we do it. This is what we're doing, or we would like to do this. How would you go about it? This is a real conversation. So we want to make sure everybody knows they have the opportunity when we open it up to the panel to unmute yourself and ask a question during those times. So please understand that you have the complete ability to do that. Also, before we begin, we want to go ahead and thank our sponsors, because without them, this summit would not have been possible, especially not have been free. So we just want to thank them for a second and say we appreciate everything you do. Now, the reason we're having this summit, the Distance Learning Leadership Summit, is because schools have to be reopening in February, in the fall, with a scenario in mind, a scenario of Everybody wants scenario one. They want it to be as business as usual as possible, but we still want to maintain safety within the school. So even if you're doing business as usual, you're going to have to abide by the social distancing standards, which is 6 feet apart, and the PPE standards that the state of California has set forth last Monday. But no matter what schedule you pick, you are going to really have to be a hybrid teacher, because you are still going to have community members who will not feel safe coming back to school. Even if you want every kid to be face-to-face, you're going to have parents that say, I just don't feel safe. Or we live in a multi-generational household where we take care of grandma and grandpa, and we just cannot risk our son or daughter getting the disease, getting the virus and passing it on to them. And so they just won't be ready to come back. So we still have to have a hybrid routine, a hybrid way of talking to parents in our back pocket, even if we do want a face-to-face model. And all of this seems absolutely daunting. It seems impossible to implement, but we always have to remember that it always seems impossible until it's done. And we also have to remember that things that were impossible were proved not impossible by single individuals. And if single individuals can accomplish a feat, every individual can accomplish those feats. So that's why this learning community that we have of educators is incredibly important, because we want to see what you are doing, what is working, so we can emulate you. Because as educators, we are a learning community. We are a team together. I always say education is a collaborative sport, and we work as a team. There is no I in educate. Well, yes, there is an I in education, but there is no I in teamwork. So we have to ask ourselves, first and foremost, why do we need to communicate at all, right? As a teacher, my response to this, to parents, like, what's up? What does my student need to do? Or my student's report card came in, they got this grade. What can they do to bring their grade up? And I was naive early on in my career, and I would always say, there's the SIS, there's the student information system. You can always log in and check. I would say, I have a website. It's very robust. It says everything that they can do, blah, blah. And I was putting everything on the parent. I was expecting the parent to do all the work and find it out. And the realization came to me when I asked the parent, I go, what is the most frustrating part of being a parent in the K-12 system? And they told me communication. I go, can you expand upon that? And they said, listen, teachers are great, and I know they work very hard, but a lot of times they expect us to visit their websites. That's fine if you have one student in elementary school. That's one website. She goes, but I have one student in elementary, 2 students in junior high, and 1 student in high school. That is over 25 websites you are asking me to visit to make sure every week I can keep up on my students. That's impossible. And so I started to come up with communication workflows that will make it easier for me to communicate with parents, and very dynamic in the way parents can ask for information and instantly get feedback. So I do want you to know that some of these things are going to be super easy to implement. Others are very dynamic, and they take a little bit of spreadsheet knowledge and formula knowledge, but I'm going to give you all of that knowledge, at least knowledge that you can take back and learn. And you can definitely always communicate with myself. I come from the same education school as John Carippo, which means whenever you're in one of my sessions, you always get lifetime tech support from myself. You're more than welcome to email me or tweet me and ask me any follow-up questions, and I will absolutely get back to you. So never feel, people say, well, I don't want to email you. I figure you're so busy. I don't want to bother you. It's no bother. Whenever I get to help education, that is the joy of my life. So every time I get an ask, I figure that's another joy that I get to accomplish. So I really appreciate any kinds of questions. But I brought this picture in right here because this is what family life can be like. It's very chaotic. I have 2 little girls, a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old, and it's crazy at home. I can imagine if you have a family of 4 or a family of 5 or a multi-generational household where you not only have brothers and sisters, but also uncles and aunts and cousins running around that house, right? A lot of times when they go to school, that is their time to focus. But now we're asking kids to stay at home. When is their time to focus? So we really have to make sure that communication between parent and student, parent to teacher, and teacher to student, and administrators to teachers is seamless and easy. So I'm going to start with easy first, some things you can implement now, super easy. And then I'm going to start going to things that can be more dynamic and a little bit more complicated. So the first thing is remind. Remind has been around for quite a while. I first got involved with Remind when they were called Remind 101. And this is what we're using for the conference. I'm going to show you what Remind looks like if you've never seen it. So I was talking with Jason when we were setting this summit up. I go, this is a virtual summit. What if a presenter cancels? What if a session has to be moved? What do we do? What are the people that sign up for this? And I said, we need to have some kind of communication. So that's why we signed up for Remind. And in Remind, an educator can create as many classes as they want. In secondary, I recommend just one class. Don't do it by period, just send it all out. But you can also create another class called Parents. So you can send parents information. And you can set this up to be a one-way communication, which is you send information out to the parents and they can't respond back. Some teachers like that. Or you can turn on the communication where they can respond individually back to you. So it's very dynamic in that fashion. And the reason why I find this extremely important is because we have to go to the parent as into a place that they are looking at constantly. And most parents will read a text more than they will read an email. And Remind will send a text right to their phone. And it doesn't have to be a smartphone. Any phone that receives text will be able to be using Remind 101. And in this fashion that I am using it, it is 100% free. There is no cost to this. There is no limit to the number of students. There's no limit to the number of classes. There is a cost if you want to push this out like district-wide, and then you can have an admin dashboard and you can see what who's made classes, and you can do a lot of analytics that way. But if you just want to use this as a quick communication between teacher and parents, this is a great option. We also implemented this at our school in Clovis, California, Alta Sierra, when our principal asked the teachers, what's the easiest way to contact you? And they said, well, we read text. So we created a staff Remind, and our principal was able to send out messages to the staff. And right now that's absolutely important because we know that we're going to have some staff members who may be in the vulnerable spectrum for the virus that won't be able to return back to school. They're going to have to be teaching from home or working from home. And so you want to still allow them to get that instant communication, and Remind is a great option for that. It's a very, very dynamic tool. So I wanted to showcase that first because it's super easy to set up. You can log in with your Google or Microsoft account. It'll automatically link you in. And then, and I forgot to show you what you would do for students. And all you would do is when you can add students this way or add parents this way by either sending this home, this little PDF that gives exact instructions how to log in. And then students in class, you can give this to them, that 8, 10, 10. And I always leave the caveat, like, make sure you ask your parents first if you can do this because you are going to be using your text data, that kind of stuff. I always tell that to them. But no parent that I've talked to has ever had an issue with it. So that's Remind. Now, my next favorite and the next easiest way to talk to parents is through Flipgrid, through a routine that I call the state of the classroom address. It can also be split to the state of the school address or the state of the district address. Now, I'm going to show you what this is, but this is what I came up with when I had that parent tell me I have too many websites to be visiting. And they said, I just want a quick synopsis of what my kid is doing and what is due and what they should expect. So I decided every week, and I started this in YouTube Live back in 2015, but Flipgrid came out and it was just a much easier way of doing this. I give a 1-minute rundown of this is what we did in class, this is what was due, and this is what to expect next week. And it was always under a minute. And parents can sign up for this and they get it right to their phone. If they download the free Flipgrid app, they'll be notified if there's a new message and they can listen to it right off of their phone. So that's a real quick way for them to do it. So I'm going to show you how easy this is to set up. So I'm going to jump in here and I'm going to show you this Flipgrid right here. Sorry, that's the next one I want to show you right here. So it's the state of the classroom address. And all you do as the teacher is you create what's called a topic. So in your Flipgrid section right here, and I'm going to turn off my camera because Flipgrid uses the camera and it won't let me do it twice. So you're going to use that camera and all you do is create a new grid. And you can call this the parents grid because this is specifically for parents. So here's the parents grid right here. And then this is where you set up who gets to see it. If you're doing this just for students, if students are recording their voices and their faces, you choose the school email option. That will prevent anybody from outside your school domain from viewing any of these videos. But since we want parents to jump in, we're going to call this the education learning community. And you can definitely change the name down here to State of the Classroom, anything like that. So I'm just going to click next. There we go, we're in. And so this is what you'd give your parents. Hey, this is where I'm going to post all my parent information. So if you're using this as a teacher, a grid, I'm putting air quotes up because it's confusing. A grid is your class. It's like, this is the class of students or parents I want to be able to see my assignment. So a grid is a class. And within the grids, you're going to have topics or assignments. And so all you have to do is create one topic, and this is for parents, called State of the Classroom. Or if it's for your community, State of our school. And with the State of the School, you can do a quick rundown of sports wins, academic achievements, maybe student of the months. That could be State of your school. State of your district. Superintendents can say, these are some of the great things schools are doing. These are some of the great wins our district had nationally. So a district can do this. And it's so easy. One of the most daunting things for my principal when I started to say, hey, let's start doing some of these things, was getting him set up. And when I try to teach him how to do this on YouTube Live, it was such a long process to even get it set up. He instantly said, I'm not doing this. It's just too much. But when I set this up for him and I said, all you have to do is click the big green button and talk, he was like, oh, okay, that's it. And so it worked. So I set it up for him and he was able to run with it. So we can just call it State of the School. And yes, I did come up with this a week before the State of the Union address. So I called it the State of, and then we could talk right here. Boom, boom, boom. So this is all you do. So you create your topic, you're all set. And now as the teacher, you're going to record. So to record, and this is to parents, it's the State of the School or State of the Classroom. All you do is click the big green button. That is absolutely it. It'll ask the teacher or educator to log in with their school Google account or their school Microsoft account. And then they're going to record right here. Now, the cool thing about it is you can do it as simple as this, or you can bring in text to put it on top, State of the School. You can put it above there. You can put like wins. You can do whatever you want to set everything up. But then all you do is hit the record button. Hey parents, I just wanted to do this quick State of the School address to say we are so proud of our wrestling team. They went to districts and they just rocked it and they won the entire district championship. So we want to say a big shout out to our wrestling team. And next we want to also talk about, we want our track team to do very well against Clovis West this week. So we really want them to go out and win. Matt, that's for you. And so we just really want to say thank you to our students for really participating. And we also want you to know that we had a student that competed in the math Olympics, and she actually took the second silver place. So we just want to give a big shout out to her. We are so proud of our students and we love our community. So thank you for being a part of it. And then all you do is hit pause and then next. You can rewatch what you said to make sure you like what you said, and you can re-record. And then this is the fun part. You always do a selfie. You can hold up things. You can put even a picture there if you wanted to. And then here's the big thing, and I always tell this, you don't have to put your name. You put the week of as your name because that's what it'll label it. So I put down, let's say the week of June 15th. And then I hit submit and it's complete. And then when parents come in here, that's what they will see. They will see that State of the Classroom, and then this is what it will look like when you're doing it for longer periods of time. And notice that's why you have the week of, and the newest week is always at the beginning. And it's just an easy way for parents to communicate, to teachers to communicate with parents, easy ways for district or school leaders to communicate with educators and their community. And it's just click the big green button. I mean, I could imagine superintendents using this and just really rocking it. And so I really love this idea right here. One of the ideas before I left the classroom, when this really rocked, I was like, this is great. I go, but you know what would be even better? If I have my students recording the state of the classroom, having my students kind of state what we did and learned. And you can actually have this as like an exit ticket on Friday, and you can have all the students record. And one of the great things is that when you are recording, you can do what's called moderate, meaning none of the videos will show up unless you click activate. And so you could find the best video for that week and activate it, and only those students will appear. So that's what I would have done this year if I did have a classroom still, is have my students create those state of the classroom addresses. So schools can consider having leadership students do that for the school as well. So it doesn't have to fall on the principal. If you have a leadership class in your junior high or high school, you can definitely have your leadership students do that as well. And then for the state of the district, you can have your academic senate record that, the president, the vice president, those individuals. So there's a lot of different ways that you can get involvement, but it's really neat and really cool. If you don't really like Flipgrid, if you like more of a website-esque kind of notification, there's a neat website called Wakelet. Wakelet is basically an online repository of web collections, but Wakelet recently partnered with Flipgrid. And so all you would do is create a Wakelet, click this plus button, and you can record a Flipgrid video right out of here without having to create a Flipgrid account at all. So you don't have to go through the whole Flipgrid thing. You just set it up. You do the same recording right here. 3, 2, 1, blah, 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 blah. Do your talk, do your selfie. Not a very good one. And it'll post it right at the top. And then the very next thing you do is just put in text. And you can type everything that you did that week. So now you're entering multiple modalities. For if you have hard of hearing individuals, you can now have text there to have them read it instead of listen. And then also one of the great things is that once you're done, when the community is looking at this, it has a built-in Microsoft Immersive Reader. Immersive Reader reads text to any, so it's text to voice, but it's also, it converts the text into any language. So if you do have individuals, community members that speak Spanish, they would click on the little button right there next to any text. They would come over here and change it to Spanish. And you can see that it automatically converts into Spanish, and it will read it to them into Spanish as well. So it allows community members who maybe English is not their first language to be able to listen to the state of the district or state of the school or state of the student address as well. So that's just a great way of just having the district constantly communicate with the community. And I find districts that are constantly communicating with their community members are the districts that have a great reputation within the community. And this is just an easy way to have administrators create that without the incredible knowledge needed for video processing or video editing. Super easy and super quick. So before I move on to the next item, I would love to hear individual thoughts. Maybe you thought, hey, I like what you did, but I'm going to do it this way. Maybe you have a different way of doing it because that's what I love. People who take what, kind of an instruction that I show, but they completely go 180 and do it in a different way. I love to see that as well. So I'm going to pause for a second and just check the pulse of the audience. Is there anything that you're thinking at the moment? Matt, nothing about Clovis West, Matt? All right, well, we'll keep moving forward. So in this same vein, remember I talked earlier that we have a lot of teachers who are worried about this coming fall. Oh, Matt, I see your hand up. Oh, you have to unmute. Okay, well, once you find the unmute, raise your hand again. It's okay. So the next thing I wanted to showcase, once again, is to make sure that teachers have the opportunity to ask your technology experts in the district a question at any moment, and that is key. They could be working, they could be frustrated, and they want to ask a question. You want to give them a way of doing that. And since I'm already showing you Flipgrid, that's just a great way of doing it as well. So if you jump into Flipgrid, we have this topic called Ask a Techspert. Right here. It's basically 24/7 technology help. You would have your district TOSAs run this. You would have your educational technology team run this. You could have your curriculum and instruction team run this as well if you're just looking for content knowledge, or maybe if they're looking for a suggestion in how to approach a project or topic. And all they would do is they come in here and ask that question. They click the moderated session. They would log in with their account. And I want to show you why it's a phenomenal thing. Because not only can they just ask it with their face, most of the time they're asking a question because something they were shown is not working. And most of the time, a technology person can identify, oh, you're clicking the wrong button, or, oh, you don't have that thing clicked. So a technology person can see that, but if they're just explaining it, they're not able to do that. But in Flipgrid, if you click these 3 little dots right here, you have the option to screen record your question. So you can click screen record, start capturing the screen. Let's say it's this one right here, and you click share, and it does 3, 2, 1. And you can say, let's say they're asking about Flipgrid. You can say, you know, I have a question. We were on a training for Flipgrid, and you showed us the state of the school address, but I don't see any responses coming in. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Can you please help me? Here's my settings. I'm going to click on my settings right here. These are my settings that I have. Is there any reason why it would be doing that? I don't understand. But thank you for your help. I really appreciate it. Thank you. They hit stop recording, and it's their entire screen question. And now the tech responses can come in and respond to that question. So once they hit next and do their selfie, and then I recommend, instead of posting their name, they post kind of the gist of their question. Flipgrid question, and then submit the video. And then this is what you're able to do. So you can, let's say you click on the video, you can actually respond to the video by hitting reply, and you can show them the correct way. So you're instantly giving that tech support with screencasting to show them the exact button to press, the exact settings to go. Really quick, really easy, and it's more personal than just having them submit like a ticket for a question that they have. It's just really good for that fashion. And we talked a little bit about Google Classroom. Google Classroom, if that is your LMS, if it's Microsoft Teams as well, there's still a lot of things that you have to look at. And one of the things that you have to look at is how you're setting up that classroom. And we talked a little bit about this yesterday if you came to my remote learning in Google Classroom session. And that's making sure that you have an agenda every week, because that is a communication to students that is really important. And the agenda should be an assignment, so that you can tell the students by Monday night, the only thing I want you to do by Monday night, if you're working at home, is make sure you read the agenda and mark it as done. So the students can come in here and they can mark the agenda as done, and the teacher can come over here, and when they click on view assignment, they can see all the students who have actually jumped in and clicked that agenda. So that's just a great way to make sure that the kids are checking in at least on that Monday, and at least they have seen what you've asked them to do. I also recommend in Google Classroom, for communication purposes, that instead of separating out the topics by subject, let's say if you're an English class, an elementary class, don't say this is my math work, this is my science work, this is my history work. It's because we want the students to see it all in one location. So what I recommend is, when you are posting as an elementary teacher, post under the week of, but if it's science specific, use little emojis in your topic right up here. If it's science, I used a little microscope. If it's math, you can use the plus or division sign. That'll showcase the students that is the subject this assignment is for. Don't separate them out into topics. It just makes it more confusing for students. And then finally, in class, students can ask questions, but in Google Classroom, they can't. unless they leave those comments. So I always tell my students, don't leave the comment underneath the assignment, only put it under the agenda. So for the week, any question about any assignment, just post it under the agenda so that I, the educator, can only need to go to one place every week to see if there's any questions about the assignments. And then I also really recommend that you train the students to use the functionality of tagging people when asking a question. So especially secondary students. So if they're going to ask me, the teacher, a question, they need to put the plus button and then start typing my name. And then I will be automatically notified that somebody is personally asking me directly a question. That's really important to train the students how to do that. And then finally, along the same vein as the state of the classroom and along the same vein as Ask a Techspert, I always have just a tab at the top through Flipgrid called 24/7 office hours. Sometimes our students just want to see our faces as educators. Sometimes they just want to ask us a quick question. And those questions can be private, meaning they don't actually be shown to the rest of the students. And to do that, when you are setting up your Flipgrid, you want to make sure that under your setup, you click on video moderation. When video moderation is turned on, all of the responses are hidden so that nobody else except the owner of the grid can see those questions. So I always tell my students, in your question, at the end, say if you would like me to keep it hidden or if this is something that I can share to the rest of the class. I always ask the students that question first before I post anything to the rest of the class because it may be a very private question. But that's just a great way to keep that personalization out front and still be incredibly important. And once again, all of these how-to videos show how to do all of these things as we go. And then for teachers, and I showed this yesterday as well, for teachers, every time a comment is made or a private comment is made, you are automatically sent an email. So I always tell teachers in their email to label and filter any message coming out of Google Classroom. So notice I have two labels, one called Google Classroom Private Comments and one just called Google Classroom. This is where general classroom questions from the feed comes to me. And this is where only private comments come to me. And what I did was, you do that by when you come to your settings right here, that's where you can create labels at the bottom. And then here, filter, this is where you can filter anything from Google Classroom with any with any labels. So for here, every private comment comes with the term private comment. And then everything coming from the feed comes in as commented on. So anything from Google Classroom that has the line commented on is going to my Google Classroom folder. And anything from Google Classroom that says private comment goes to my private comment folder. This just makes me know what I need to respond to most. And that's why I've labeled that one red. And if your district is one where you have the students using G Suite, but your teachers are utilizing Outlook, there is a workflow for that as well. And I posted that right here at the very bottom, creating the same filters in Outlook. It'll do the exact same filtering from Google Classroom to your Outlook filtering. I just don't have Outlook enabled for that account to show you, but I have it there so you can take a look at. And then another thing that I really recommend is in that teachers, they need to work together. And I told my teachers this all the time. I go, look, you may have spent 4 hours to create that assignment or create that project. I go, but it doesn't belong to you. It belongs to the students. And if you think it's that amazing, why would you just hold it for you? Why would you not share it with your team so that all the students can experience your amazing assignment? And so in Google Classroom, that is absolutely possible. I, as a department head, would create something called Department Shared Classroom. This could be in elementary, the grade level departments, or this could be in secondary, your science or English or history level departments. And then you add those members as co-teachers, And then let me show you what happens. When I, as a teacher, submit or create an assignment, so if I hit create, and I just call this amazing assignment, because it's amazing. And let's say I add all these resources, everything is there. Instead of just posting it to my classroom, I also post it to my department shared classroom. That's just a routine that I've always done. So my classroom, department classroom, my classroom, department classroom, and then I hit assign. So that's coming from my Mr. Marquez account. Let's say now I talk to my fellow teacher, Mr. Freeman, and I tell him about this assignment. And he goes, oh, that's amazing. Can I use it? Oh, absolutely. So now, because he is part of my department classroom, all he has to do is go to create, reuse, from the department shared classroom, my amazing assignment. That's it. He doesn't have to recreate it. He doesn't have to go to assignment and type everything in. He just goes to reuse. Now, everything that was attached to the original assignment is now copied to the teacher's Google Drive, can now be used by their students. It completely separates it out into that teacher's assignment. And if they have a few tweaks they want to make, maybe there's an order they want to change or a little comment they want to add, they can absolutely add that. And then all they do is hit assign. This is a way that you can lighten the load of all your teachers if they learn to work together. Once again, educators are a great community of learners, and we have to act that way by sharing everything, So that's one way that you can lighten that load for your fellow teachers. And once again, I always got to say, everything that I'm showing has its own individual video, how you can actually set it all up individually. So those are the easy ways of creating that communication with your community of learners. Now I want to go into another feature. And this is for if you are having parent meetings. Maybe you need to have virtual parent meetings. And we all know how parent meetings go. You may need to get a translator in there. You got to have more people in the room. It can really cause a scheduling havoc. But if you have Microsoft translators, translator.microsoft.com, this is free. And all you do is set up a room. And then you shoot the parent the join code right here. You just hit that copy and you send it to the parents. I'm going to actually post this in our chat. If anybody wants to join, you can see how easy it is to join this little chat room for parents. So it's right there. Now, here's the awesome thing about it. Let's say, so this is a parent right here. And let's say this parent speaks Spanish. When they're signing in, they can have their home language be Spanish. So if this parent comes in and types in hola, in their language, it says hola, but if I go back to my teacher, it says hello. It automatically translates it into the language that I, the teacher, had chosen. And I can say, how are you? And it will instantly translate that into the parent's origin language. So that's extremely important. And it can also be done through voice. So the parent can speak into it in their language and it will automatically translate it into the teacher language. It's a great way to have an easy flow conversation without the need of a translator. And you can actually use this in your classroom. When face-to-face meetings are there again, you just have to have this set up and you can just tell the parent to type into that and you can see it. And so it's an easy way to translate a conversation without the need of a translator. And once again, 100% free, 100% free. I used to use this in my classroom for my English language learners as a back channel during a conversation. So at any moment they could sign into this and they can ask me a question and I would be able to look on my screen and I can see the question in English and I can respond back. So it was just a way to allow students to get over that hump of the language barrier and really get into the material, and it helped them gain confidence. And I really liked it a lot. So it's a great tool. And once again, it doesn't cost any money. And in fact, everything I've shown you so far costs $0.00. There is no way to pay for Flipgrid. You don't need to pay for Google Classroom. Everything I've shown is 100% free. Now, this is going to get a little complicated, and please just follow me along. And on the next page, I have a how-to video on how to do everything. But being able to send forms home to parents, like a Google form or a Microsoft form, to get instant survey data is really, really important, especially now. Schools can send this home in like a newsletter. They can, if you have like school wires or some form of communication, you could send them the link this way. If your school uses Remind as a district-wide communication tool, you can send out a district-wide remind to all the parents to fill out the form. But it allows a really great aggregation of data. I'm going to give you a little peek behind the curtain of the Distance Learning Summit. So we were able to collect data from where people are from. We were able to collect data on which roles are here. We were able to collect data on which sessions we can tell the presenters are going to be super packed to have them prepared. We were able to collect all this data to prepare for this day of the summit. It's a great way to collect data on questions you may want your community to answer about the scenario that you're planning for the fall. It's a great way to do that. But it's also a great way for teachers to create dynamic letters or communication home with a click of a button. Let me show you what I mean. So I created what I call the assignment check Google form. And so I would go around and I would do a homework check on Friday, and I'd say, hey, do you have this assignment? Hey, do you have that assignment? And they would either say yes or no. And I was able to select what unit we're on. I was able to easily select the student's name, and I grabbed the names just from my student information system, just copied into the Google form. I have all of my assignments for Google One, so I'm able to press which assignments were missing. And then all I had to do was hit submit. What that created was a form here, and I was able to utilize what I call VLOOKUP, or what everybody calls VLOOKUP. And so I had the student name, and from the student information system, I grabbed the parent's auto email, and then I wrote down if they were male or female. And if they were male or female, it presented the he, she, his, or hers option. And so when I created that, I used an add-on called Formule. And Formule is an automatic mail merge. So as soon as I hit Unit 1, this student, VLOOKUP automatically puts those columns and responses right in. It vertically looks up, what's the reference? The student's name. What do you want to do? Grab the parent's email, and automatically places it in. And then in Mail Merge, I created templates. So for Unit 1, that's the trigger. Unit 2, that's the trigger. Unit 3, that's the trigger. And you can create dynamic messages for those particular units. And then you can create this mail merge, and it's really easy. We call them tokens. Every single column, a word here, that's a token. And it'll port in the exact response here into your email to make it look like you took hours to write it. And so with just a few clicks, I was able to send 35 emails home before I went back to my desk in a matter of 20 minutes. And so by the end of the day, I was receiving responses. We'll make sure he gets this done when he gets home. We'll make sure that this assignment gets done. It was great for that instant communication. And this is what that tag looks like. Hi, tags, that's what the little brackets are, tags. Whatever the parent's name is, it'll put the parent's name is. This is a quick courtesy reminder that from 8th grade science, that tag student's name. So Jonathan, current marks in his or her, this is where that male or female, his class is. And so it put in everything that he was missing with a link to those resources right in the email. And all it did is triggered it just by me saying, Unit 1, this student, this assignment, done. How long did this take me to set up? For all 6 of my classes, all 180 of my students, it took me 1 prep period, which was about 2 hours. It took me to set up. How much time did it save me in the long run? Days and days and days. And I set this up for all of my exams as well. The trigger words came from their score. The score triggered an automatic email, and it would say, your student scored below a 65. Here are some resources they can look at. We will be giving a second look on Monday to prepare the students. But here was the powerful one. I would also send letters home to parents of students who got A's. Hey, I'm so proud of your student. I know how hard they work. I know how hard you work as a parent to get them prepared. We are just so grateful that we're able to have Ashley's grade. She did a fantastic job. You should take her to ice cream, something like that. And I would receive responses. We have never received an email about our student because she always gets A's and B's. We've never received an email from our parents. We appreciate you taking the time out. And I continue to do that because, you want to be proud of your student. You may see the report card, but you want to hear from the teachers in a constant manner, not only for things that can be improved, but for what's working. And so that constant reinforcement, I can't tell you how many times parents email back, thank you so much. Is there anything we can do for you? Is there any supplies we can bring you? And it's like, it was crazy. They would offer all of these things because we responded in a thoughtful and provoking way. And it was just a setup from Google Forms to Google Sheets with those VLOOKUP mail merges. And in a matter of minutes, it made an amazing opportunity. And once again, if you look on this next page right here, I have pre-created templates given to me by Brent Coley. Now these are for parents and for teachers. I've had administrators utilize a form like this, and they go through with a Google form and they select this teacher, great job, science, and it sends an email right after they leave the class. Just walked into your class at 8 o'clock, had a great opportunity to see you doing this lesson. You did a phenomenal job, keep it up. Just in a matter of clicks, it sent out that automatic mail, and teachers loved it because they were able to get that. Now, another peek behind the curtain for this summit, we did a thing called Summit Session Selection. So all the selections that we had, you were able to come in and pick which ones you thought you would do. And we used the same, well, I used the same exact process that I did with my parents for all the participants. I created a template personalized schedule. And notice I have the same brackets for name. I have the same brackets for day 1 breakout, day 2, and then Zoom. And I used another add-on called Autocrat. And so this is what we did. I used VLOOKUP. So if anybody chose, let's say quality education, it would automatically place in a VLOOKUP the link to that session. So they chose what they wanted and VLOOKUP put it in. And so by doing that, it merged all of the selections into a hyperlinked click so that people had their own personalized section. And I say this because if you at the district level have a website that has so many pages, it's going to be very confusing for parents to figure things out. But if on the very front of the website, it says, hi, I'm so-and-so, I would like more information about, boom, this topic, you can have a pre-made form or pre-made a document that can put in everything they're looking for just by them saying, I want more information about this. So now they don't have to go scour your district website for information. They automatically get sent a pre-made form, a customized form, a customized response based on what they selected. And these for me are fun. It's like a puzzle, and you put the puzzle together, and it's just so. When I made this for the summit, I was just like so happy. It just made me feel so good that it all worked. And so when districts do things like this, it just instantly sends responses to parents, instantly gives them what they want, and it's just a great way to keep that on track. And I mentioned that because I had a school saying, we're getting comments that our district website is so complicated, but we're so invested in everything that we've done. What can we do? I said, do it this way. And they're like, you can do that? Oh yeah, let's. And I sat down with them for about 4 hours, and we created and brainstormed everything they wanted and made this whole workflow. In 4 hours, we made their website simpler for their community. So it's an easy and quick way to do that. And that is Autocrat. Autocrat, when I first learned how to use it, took me a few days to figure out and tinker with and play around with. So I highly recommend before you roll anything out, you go in and put your own information in to see if actually what you put in is what comes out of it. And I have all the formulas that the VLOOKUP formula, the search formula, all those formulas are on this link right here on a session that I do called Google Sheets Funky Formulas. And it shows you exactly what the formula is, what every single trigger word is, how it works, what the workflow is in an easy color-coded manner so that you can easily figure it out. And then once again, Brent Cooley has these great pre-made Google Forms for a variety of things districts would want to have a quick automation of. So just real quickly, going back over, the reason we talked about this is how do we leverage free tools to increase that communication? How can we amplify understanding between our students, teachers, parents, and community? And how can we confer with our community to change and meet their needs? We need to go to where they are, not have them come to where we are. So this allows the communication workflow to help parents, students, and teachers. This allows for multiple modes of communication to meet the needs of all community members. It meets the parents and staff where they already are, not ask them to come where we want them to go. It creates dynamic messages with a few clicks for all situations. In Google Classroom, we can create that collaboration opportunity when people are working at home and not on campus. And we can identify what's best for our community by the information we receive from all of these forums. And the number one thing, and I'm going to bold this, the way that it'll work best is if the administration models this on campus. We can't ask our teachers to do state of the classroom if we're not doing state of the school. We can't ask teachers to do auto dynamic forms if our administrators are not doing dynamic forms. So for buy-in from the teachers, I highly recommend that you are modeling this workflow by using this workflow. And once again, I know that was a lot of information. Once again, it's a 4-hour workshop packed into 45 minutes of talking, but I hope you know that you can always come back to these slides to grab all the resources that you need for any purposes to meet the needs of your community. So I just want to say thank you so much for allowing me to learn with you today. And I do want to also mention that I am proud to be a host of a brand new podcast that I created called CDW Gets, which creates a under 25-minute conversation of solutions to problems that we know schools are trying to figure out. So it's something that I thought that people can listen to while they are jogging or this or that. So we created it for our educators to help them get a concise bit of information. So thank you so much for joining me today, and I appreciate everything you do. Educators are the most important people in the world. We change the world from the ground up. And not only are we informing our leaders of tomorrow, but we're creating great citizens while we do it. So thank you for everything you do, for your passion, for your commitment to our students. So thank you so much for being with me. And as always, if there's anything you need, I'm always here because I consider you all my best friends. So thank you very much.